Does Kyland feel his game slipping through his hands? I have said since week 2 in this game that this was Kylan's game to lose, even when Xavier was starting to gain ground in this game in week 3 and start to position himself better than anyone. I still felt like it was Kylan's game to lose. And it has come to fruition. Kylan controlled his own game a hell of a lot this season because he had power a lot this season. But Kylan's decisions could be his undoing because now it seems as though Xavier wants Kylan's ass out of this game. Now, Kylan has time to change his fate, but I don't know if he's going to be able to. Xavier won the veto, so he's won both the HOH and the veto this week, proving that he threw a lot of challenges this season. Kylan was emotional after losing veto today. I feel like he feels the danger, but he can still change this because if Xavier keeps nons the same, it's Derek F's decision. And right now, Derek F and Xavier have been doing a whole lot of agreeing this week. And it seems as though Derek F agrees that Kylan needs to go because Kylan is a comp beast and because he never longer trusts Kylan. However, Xavier's also showing himself to be a comp beast. So I don't know how Derek F is going to feel about that. But I wouldn't put it past Kylan to do whatever he needs to do to stay in this house. We have seen and we have talked about how much Kylan, the lengths that Kylan will go through to stay in this game. We saw him cuddling with Tiffany. We saw him go on dates with Azza. And we know Derek F has a crush on Kylan. Kylan better find his inner Nicole Franzel and do what he needs to do to stay in this game with fucking Derek F. Now, I don't know if that would work. I mean, it would work, but I don't know if Kylan would go to that extreme. He probably would. Now, on one hand, it would be almost impressive that Derek F social game has been this good to connect with everybody in the final 4 and probably be a shoo-in for the final 2. However, he's a GOAT. And no, I don't mean greatest of all time. I don't know how much Big Brother uses Survivor's terms, but a GOAT in Survivor is the person you drag to the end to beat. And that has been Derek F this whole fucking season, really. And I think everybody left in the final 4 sees Derek F as the person to take to the end to beat. So I really can't give that much props to Derek F's social game because I truly feel he is the GOAT against any of these 3. Maybe has a shot against Azza. I doubt it, however, especially because the only way Azza's getting to the end is if she survives this round, wins final 3, cuts Xavier. And that is Azza's plan. And Azza getting rid of Hannah is paying off if this week goes as planned, because if Hannah would still be in this game with Azza, I feel like Xavier would have rather have taken Hannah further than Azza. So Azza, I mean, if this comes to fruition, if Derek F votes out Kylan, keeps Azza, then Azza making that final 3 with Xavier and Derek F gets her to final 3 with Xavier and Derek F, once again proving her social game has paid off and her intuition has actually been fabulous this season. The haters can hate, and we're going to get to those haters because I'm about to tear Twitter apart. But before that, let's also talk about how Azza is the first woman on Big Brother to get to Final 4 without being put on the block since Danielle Reyes herself. And Azza's had to go through more people to get there. So once again, props to Azza's social game. You know, the fans and these idiotic podcasters won't give her the credit she actually deserves for playing one hell of a fucking social game. I mean, this is what I've been saying for weeks now, that the fact that all these podcasters and all these stupid ass fans don't count social game as being good gameplay is idiotic, because look, the 2 best social players this season, Xavier and Azza, could be in the final 3. Xavier's going to be in the final three regardless. Ozza will still see. There's people talking about how Xavier should try and use the veto on Ozza, cut a deal with Ozza, make Ozza want to take Xavier to the end just in case Ozza wins that final that final three HOH. So that would be a pretty good plan by Xavier. I don't know if it would fully work. I think Ozza would take Derek F to final two regardless if she happens to win that final three HOH. I see Ozza stands maybe getting a little too carried away that she really has a shot to win this game now, and she does. But let's be real. Xavier's odds of winning this game are still the highest. Xavier's odds of winning that final three HOH still the highest, especially since he won that veto today, which I don't know for sure, but I feel like it was some sort of memory comp. So Xavier is still the shoo-in to win this game, but I do like that if Ozza gets to final three with her final three, it shows she's not the pick-me people want to say she was, and that she just stuck to her fucking plan and her fucking social game. Now let me get to Twitter, because Kylan did some crying today, but nobody cries harder than fucking people on Twitter in this fandom. First, let's start with Karen from BB Ken 5, and I liked Karen on BB Ken 5, but she's starting to live up to her name, Karen, here with this post, and I really hate when old heads, and I feel like I'm probably going to be an old head sooner than later, but I really hate when old heads really start putting out opinions like this. And Karen's not even an old head. Karen is an ancient head. But she says, teach your daughters to love and care about having other women's backs, because this betrayal is old AF and was completely avoidable. Help your sisters straighten their crowns instead of always trampling their dreams. Well, first of all, it was Tiffany that didn't want to work with Ozza. It was Tiffany that said she never wanted to talk game with Ozza. It was Tiffany that talked shit to Ozza about Hannah first. And it was Tiffany that talked shit to Hannah about Ozza. So all these people standing Tiffany on Twitter and being upset about the double eviction should truly look at the facts first before they come and post idiotic shit on Twitter. And also for Karen, I don't see her posting this about the countless white women in the past that have done this to really try and play for the men, when in Ozza's case, she's actually just playing her own fucking game, trying to get to the end with the two people she made a final three with, and the two people that actually wanted to work with her, and those two people were not Tiffany and Hannah, because Tiffany and Hannah also wanted to go to final four with Kylan and Xavier. Just 2 weeks ago, when Tiffany was HOH trying to work something out with Kylan and Xavier, how dumb that was. Oh, but the crying did not stop there from the alumni. Next up was Andy crying about the double. Andy, who's always trying to stay relevant, to play up to the stands. Andy says about his hairless cat. He keeps looking up at me asking, Daddy, why did Ozza do that? And I just keep saying, she flopped, son. She flopped. Let it be known that Andy did not play this great fucking game to get to the end. He also just kind of got to the end with a whole lot of luck and a whole lot of falling into the end. But also, let's keep it real. Andy's cat might be on the ugly side, but still not uglier than Andy, both outside and inside. Also, of course, Evil Dick can't not put in his 1 cent always. And, he does the fake woke thing when he needs to do the fake woke thing, but usually on Twitter, he is nothing but miserable and talking shit all day long, yet when you criticize Evil Dick, he will block you because he is bitch made just like the Twitter fanbase itself. But Evil Dick says, will the season be remembered for the cause or for having some of the worst players in the history of Big Brother in the final three? The worst players in the history of Big Brother is pretty fucking ridiculous. There's probably 5 to 10 worse players than any of these three from each of the past 10 seasons. I could probably name 7 or 8 per season, but Also, let it be known, Evil Dick is one of the absolute worst winners of the history of this show. I've talked about it before, and the fact that strategically he did a whole lot of jack shit. He just caused a lot of drama and was the entertainment in quotation marks, but he won because of America's Player, one of the most ridiculous twists of all time. Evil Dick himself, subpar player. Even if Xavier loses, he was a better player than Evil Dick was. Now let's get to some non-alumni and just regular BB Twitter for a second. We got Sweetwater CT on Twitter who says, "This is y'all winner, Xavier the flop," with a gif of, "Is this your king?" Well, no, sorry, Xavier was not the flop. The flop was Tiffany, who couldn't help herself but to play sloppy. Next, we got Black Weeb XO saying, "I cannot accept Xavier or Kylan as winner. I'm sorry, neither of them deserve it. Like, I just can't find something one did that was better than the other. They're both trash in their own ways." Like, can you fans just admit your faves got outplayed towards the end of this game from sloppy fucking gameplay? Just admit it instead of whining all week long and trying to say the first black male winner of this show would be a bad winner, especially if it's Xavier or Kylan. It wouldn't fucking be true. Sky Santana says, "The cookout being the final six was a dumbass idea. They should have planned it for jury instead." Well, it also got your faves that far in the game because their sloppy gameplay would have caught up with them sooner, probably. But then this tweet also says, "Because Final Six is cute for accomplishments in history, but now they're about to lose personally because the winner is clearly Xavier." Xavier would be a good winner. Like I've said, not one of the best of all time, certainly, but not a bad winner that the narrative is now trying to push. Here's a fave of mine showing how low the Twitter's sink. This is trying to get clout from Rob Has a Podcast, who's been wrong all season about everything. Mr. K17, aka Handy K17 on Twitter, says, "If Xavier is dragged to the end and wins, without winning any of the comps from Final 5 to Final 3, who was a better winner, Xavier or Jordan?" Fucking joke that, of course, 64% said Jordan. But I hate to break it to this hypothetical question. Xavier won both HOH and veto at Final Four, disproving once again this push narrative that Xavier would be a bad winner, proving it to be false once again. Now, speaking of Rob Has a Podcast, and we'll get there. First, I want to give this tweet from ex-Rob Has a Podcaster, Brent Wolgamont, who at one point followed this channel, subscribed to this channel. I don't know if he still does, and I don't care because I'm still going to drag him, because this tweet reads, "It really grinds my fucking gears when BB alumni get on Twitter and implore us to be kind or we're doing too much. We are expected to critique the plays of the people playing. Oz of the person, heart. Oz of the player, flop. Flop of the year, save the sanctimonious BS." Well, flop of the year, not so fast, because Brent, hate to break it to him, but Sequester aired this year. There was episodes going in to 2021, and Brent was on it, and Brent, after years of being a performative ally to black women on Rob Has a Podcast, trying to, and sometimes failing to on Rob Has a Podcast to be an ally, but super flopping when it came to Sequester Jury, because Brent was on the jury and Billy, the black woman, played this epic fucking game on all fucking levels. And it was pretty fucking clear, I thought, that Billy played the best game that was ever on Sequester, for sure. And Brent voted for the straight white male to win, flopping as a juror, flopping on his supposed being an ally when he had the chance to vote for the superior black player. He failed. Lastly, let's get to some audio from the shrill white woman that is on Rob Has a Podcast, and her quote last week trying to downplay if any of these players other than Tiffany or Hannah win, they are a flop, yes, implying that the first black winner would be a flop, even if it's Xavier. Here's that quote.
And at this point, like, I guess he's the only acceptable winner if you take out Hannah and Tiffany, but I don't want him to win because I hate the way he views women. So, like, I'm upset about that as well. I don't want any of them to win. At this point, if Tiffany's out, Hannah better win this game, or else we have like a flop winner, I have to say.
I have to say that Melissa has always been a flop podcaster, always with some sketchy views of black players. But also, this is showing that Rob Has a Podcast is trying to hide behind their fake wokeness this season. They fired Brent because of ads, and they brought a lot of black people onto their podcast after years of it being all white, and that was a good step in the right direction. But they're still pushing that same anti-black narrative they've been pushing since forever with their Big Brother coverage. Rob better have a talk with Taryn and Melissa and put a leash on them, because if they be saying some wild shit again this week and I have to see it on Twitter, I will take time away from my already busy schedule to make a mini documentary on the history of Rob Has a Podcast's Big Brother coverage and its anti-black history. Rob Has a Podcast right now with its Big Brother coverage is trying to hide behind fake woke nonsense. You know, Rob did good. He always does good with Survivor. Rob's Survivor coverage has always been great. He did great listening to ex-Black Survivor players this past year and giving them a platform to speak, to try and get what got CBS to do the eventual 50% POC. But I'm not convinced Rob actually listened to some of the things said on his very own podcast by these ex-Black Survivor players, specifically when ex-Black players talked about dumbass Jeff Probst always downplaying Survivor Fiji as a bad season, when that was a season when 3 Black players made the end. When we have the first Black Big Brother winner coming, and on his podcast, they're trying to call it a flop. And they're trying to say that anybody who wins that isn't Tiffany or Hannah is a flop winner. So the first Black winner is going to be a flop, even if it's Xavier, is fucking crazy. Even if it's the best woman Big Brother social player in Azah, no, I disagree completely. So yeah, I'm ready to fucking bring up facts from the past to show that Rob Has a Podcast's Big Brother coverage has not really changed. It's still very emotional. It's still very anti-black. So keep it cute, keep it non-shrill. They've gave biased coverage all year, and to now try and call the first Black winner a flop, and this is after they downplayed Tashawn's game, the first BB Can 9 winner? I don't know. Rob better do some damage control. That's all I gotta say. Trying to gather likes and views and placate the stands? Dumb as hell.